Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey, Jason, Dylan, Mal, John, Pauline. Welcome back, Ben Mandel.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Talk some Mets.
I appreciate the pause after I talked to make sure everything works, guys. Everybody's staring with anticipation.
First things first, do need to bring up a certain situation regarding an Atlanta Brave. Sure, Profar. You weren't able to talk about it last week. Need to get your thoughts on it.
Vindication, right? Like vindication. Because look, at the end of the day, I didn't hate Jerickson Profar as much as it seems. But I'm telling you, the guy should not be a home run derby guy. Like,
you knew something was up.
It's like, come on, guys. Like, there's something in the water here. Like, let's go. So, yeah, vindication. That's all I have to say. Like, everybody who has watched, if you have not watched, go do yourself a favor and go back and watch the previous episodes, because you will find and hear my exact thoughts on Jerickson Profar.
It's just so funny when that came down, and I think the first thing all of us thought was, what's Ben think?
Big dub for Ben.
Yeah, I think when it first came out, I sent it, and it was just all Ben stuff. That's all we said. Big W for Ben.
Not as good as he was playing for way too long. Something had to be up.
This is Ben's World Series.
This is Ben's World Series. We're gonna have to wait a whole nother year to see him, or I guess 80 games. See him torment the Mets.
Yeah, it's
but not in the playoffs. But it won't be able to be in the playoffs because he can't play in the playoffs.
He'll torment
the Braves are playing. They might not make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is crazy. But yeah, so what the Braves started, was it 0-7?
Yeah.
And no team, I think I read, has ever made the playoffs after starting a season 0-7. I think that's what it was.
Look,
I don't think so. You can't with the extra team. Not with the extra team in the playoffs.
They have way too much talent, and think about it. Acuna's not even back yet, so they don't even have the full reinforcements yet.
And Strider,
Sean
and Profar,
Murphy.
Profar. Yeah, like exactly. So there are some things with this team, some pieces that are still missing. You can't write them off just yet. Plus, like, you start the season playing the Padres and Dodgers on the West Coast. Like, you're kind of set up to fail there. Like, yeah. I feel like the Braves would have been happy getting out of their 500 and considered that a huge victory, let alone, get out of there with a win. Obviously, it's disappointing to not win a game, but it's way too early to write them off, especially when you're in a division with the Mets. Like,
now, sticking with the Mets did something incredibly embarrassing during their home opener. The Met fans cheered when Vladdy was announced for the opposing Toronto Blue Jays. Now, that's a guy on the other team. During your home opener, you boo everybody and cheer for him? That's embarrassing.
I wouldn't say that, but okay.
I think it's a great recruitment pitch.
Yeah,
I disagree.
Recruited him so much that he signed a 14-year, $500 million extension to stay in Toronto. Not even have the chance to get
$500 million.
I thought he was stupid to turn down money like that to begin with, especially when you see the struggle that people of his position have had on the market. Like, I just was stunned that he had turned down $500 million before that.
I think his agent ran and accepted that without even asking him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they came back to the table and said, look, is this still there? What can we do? And signed. Because look, I didn't see a corner infielder like that, especially one who's on the right side of the infield, not even a third baseman. Like, you're not getting more than 350 on the open market if you're lucky. I get his age helps.
Age. He's 26. He's going to be same age as Soto when he hit the market.
Yeah, but Soto's a corner outfielder. First basemen don't get that
And
same
better.
kind of pay.
I mean, and better. Like significantly better.
Yeah, but just position value. It's like, think about it in a football sense with how they were treating running backs. It's even worse when it comes to baseball and first baseman. They don't pay first baseman anymore, especially when you see how the Goldschmidt contract worked out for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Like it's just like you see the struggles that Pete Alonso just had. I get his age is different, but first base is in a position where you worry about the age decline. So, it shouldn't play that big of a role. I was shocked that he turned it down to begin with in the offseason. So it's not surprising to me at all that he signed. Even it's not like the Mets fans cheering for him caused him to sign that.
No,
I think he signed it because it was dumb for him not to sign it.
I just thought it was a bad look to cheer for a guy on the opposing team like that.
Who cares? It's not embarrassing. It's not like they're
during
cheering
your home
for Bryce
opener.
Harper.
Yeah.
Your team just had one of the best seasons.
Okay, and they haven't even announced our guys yet. Like, it's not embarrassing by any means. I don't care. You know what?
And they want to be better.
Pay to go to a baseball game. You want to see stars. That includes players on other teams. The game hasn't even started yet.
And they don't even play each other often. They see Vlad, once every 2 years. I don't think this is a big deal. I think this was their one opportunity to let him know that he'd be loved there.
Well, could he have gotten a better deal from the Mets or any other team in free agency?
There's no chance.
No.
Steve Cohen
I think he would have.
Not the Mets. Not the Mets. The Mets have way.
I don't think
many
there's a
big
single
contracts on
team
their
that would have
payroll.
given a better deal. I think Toronto has been the stalking horse for every big name free agent, Ohtani, Soto, Corbin Burns over the last 2 years. And they were like, this is enough. We're not losing our guy. Like, he's already here. We already got him here. We're not letting one go.
They were just hungry to spend the money, too. Like,
Yeah.
no one wanted to spend money more than the Blue Jays, especially after the Giants landed Adames.
Yeah. There is just no way around it for Toronto. There's already a Toronto tax, homegrown talent. They had no choice but to keep him. And I don't blame them either. In a league with no salary cap, if you're Toronto, you can't land these free agents now that you have a competitive team. Imagine if you lost Vladdy and you lost Bichette and you were just a terrible team. You'd never bring anybody in. You have to keep your core.
What's the best you think he could have got on the open market? Like, let's say he didn't go to Toronto. What do you think the best deal and match he could have got?
I think it's around $350 million.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't think that, his age plays in like Soto does. Like, we also have to go back and think about.
Well, but also give me years. Give me years.
I'm thinking that's probably along like the lines of like 8 to 12 years, but it's going to be in the 350 range.
Well, so 8 for 350.
I'm thinking it's going to be between 35 and 40 a year.
350 and 8 is 43 a year, which I think is fine though, because you'd be getting him from 26 to 34. 44 million, but you're getting the prime.
It's just I don't think that you're getting 500 on the open market like that.
No. I agree with you. I'm saying 350, but 8 years instead of 14.
That's what
that way.
I mean.
It's the prime.
Between 8 and 12 years is what it's going to be. It's going to be around 350. That's what it would have been, because there's not another team, especially because Pete Alonso is going to be back in the market next year. So there's going to be another first baseman that teams could go and try to sign. It's not like Vladdy's the end all be all. Obviously, he would be the prize, but who knows? Maybe Pete Alonso goes out and knocks out 50 home runs again this year. All of a sudden, it's a different conversation. Because again, Pete Alonso is not signing a contract more than $200 million. Like, you're going to look at me and tell me that Vlad Guerrero is that much better than the likes of Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson? Like, that's what I think people don't realize, is that those guys' contracts are not huge, and they set the first base market. That's why Pete Alonso's contract was never going to get that big, though.
Him hitting free agency at 26 was a lot different than Olsen and Freeman at like 30.
It's a lot different, but he was never getting this contract.
Well, I do think he probably would have gotten, at least from Boston, Was it 12 years, 456 million? I think
I don't
was
think
well
Boston has that big of an interest in giving him
Why?
the big money right now.
They can't even find a spot for Devers in their lineup.
Exactly.
I think they're going to move Devers because Devers doesn't want to play anywhere but third base. I think they don't like Cassis. They've been trying to move off of him. That's why they wanted to even try Devers at first. Everything in the Boston media has been saying that Vladdy's the guy they want.
I think maybe if they had come up short this year, an ALCS or a World Series, maybe there could have been some push then. But I think if you're Vladdy, 500 million is 500 million.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Well, what's next for Toronto then? What's going to happen with Bichette? Toronto's a bottom 2 team in their division with Vladdy.
I mean, again, I think you have to pay the core. They have the money. They are the second richest team in baseball. So anybody that's there and good, like, you better keep them there.
Well, and the thing with Bichette is, yeah, he had a very down year last year. You expect him to bounce back. And if Bichette is better than he was last year, they're not a bottom 2 team in the division. I think that's the thing. You know, yes, the American League East is very good and it's very deep because, I mean, this is with Tampa Bay being average. So Tampa Bay is going to play 500 baseball. The other 4 teams in the division are all competing for playoff spots. And I think 1 through 4 can shake out any different way this year. Yes, there is a scenario where Toronto gets hot. Yes, I do believe that Toronto is the 4th best of those 4 teams. But at the same time, they're not incapable of getting hot, especially if they go out and acquire a big-time arm at the trade deadline.
Yeah,
They're a
Sandy
big
Alcantara is a perfect name for them to look at.
He is. That would be a great
He's
fit
going
for
to be
them.
so much, especially with the salary he's getting is so valuable for the next couple of years still too.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is for Toronto though, when you trade for somebody, you want there to be some length. That way they can get used to living in Toronto and hopefully grow to love it because it's hard to convince somebody to stay there.
What type of deal could we see Bichette get?
Oh man, what are we looking at for Bichette's age here?
Because if you're gonna
27.
not rebuild and reset like Toronto is obviously not doing now, you're gonna have to pay Bichette because you want to build around Bichette and Vladdy. Could they overpay to keep Bichette? Would they even want to? You have an older Springer whose money is going to be coming off the books sooner than later. You don't really have much pitching. Manoah
here's my question,
from
right?
being an ace.
I think you're starting at looking at the Willy Adames contract, and then you go
7 for 182. He's 29. Bichette's 27.
Yeah, you go up a little bit from there. So I would say 7 for 210 sounds like it's in the higher range. But based off that contract, I think that's right around where you start.
But he might want more years than 7. He might want 10.
All I'm saying is that's where you're starting.
My guess is he is going to try to get to the 30 mark. That'd be my guess.
10 for
he
3?
knows. My guess is he knows Toronto needs him, and he's going to try to get to 30 annual average salary. That'd be my guess. Whether it's they do shorter years or whatever, my guess is he wants to be the highest paid annual guy at the position.
But it also does depend on the kind of season he has. Like if Bo Bichette goes out and has a great year and has a career year in the contract year, yes, he'll get 10 for 300. He'll get a Machado contract. But if he doesn't, he's going out there and sign. He might even just take the qualifying offer at that point. Like, I mean,
I can see that.
It's a big year for him. Make or break.
Exactly.
Could cost you $250,000 or $250 million, excuse me.
Because if you're the Blue Jays and you see Bichette go out there, he hits 15 home runs, hits 240 and 50 RBIs, and that's what you get out of Bo Bichette. Do you even give him the qualifying offer? Because that's now 2 straight down years.
I think you have to, just because you can't risk losing him and hope that you can fix it.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're Toronto, especially in the AL East, you can't afford to be losing talent in a league that doesn't have a salary cap.
Yeah, but can you afford to invest that kind of energy and time into what could be the next Tim Anderson?
I mean, I guess that's a valid point. I don't know if it'll turn out that bad, but I hear you for sure.
Things
If
to
I
think
was
about.
if I was Toronto, I'd be willing to open up the checkbook because odds
Yeah.
are you're not getting anybody to come anyways.
So, keeping in line with this Vladdy contract, what does this mean for the future of the first base market? Could we see them kind of reevaluate it like we've seen with running backs now in the NFL or safeties in the NFL? Is there a reset now with this contract? Could a guy like Alonso, who took a lesser contract with the Mets because first base wasn't valued highly this past year, could Alonso get a much, much bigger contract because of this?
I doubt it.
The answer is no, and it's simply because anybody can be slotted at first base. You kind of see that's how a lot of teams operate with the position now, is you take a bat that's, valuable and you can't DH him and teach him how to play first base. I mean, I feel like of the 30 teams, at least half of them don't have natural first baseman at this point as their first baseman. I mean, you look at the Phillies. Phillies have Bryce Harper as their first baseman. Like, he's an outfielder whose arm blew out. Like, so it's one of those positions where you just put a bat there and teach anybody to play. You don't value the defense as much. And the addition, because to be honest with you, you put anybody there and they could play a solid first base once they get the footwork down.
Even
So-
Vladdy is a converted third baseman.
Exactly. So my point, it's one of those positions where you don't really need a Gold Glove caliber player there. You don't need to pay someone for that. You just put a big bat there. Plus, with the DA, like at this point, a guy like Pete Alonso's value is strictly with the bat. Even though I think his defense is very underrated, his value is only with the bat. So
Yeah,
teams
also-
are pretty much paying him as a DH.
I don't think many, star first basemen are hitting the market at 26 years old. So I think similar to how we talked about the Soto contract, it's not going to be replicated. That is the peak. Like, that is the peak first baseman contract right now. Nobody is getting more than Vladdy.
Well, and when you look at Ohtani's contract, it is just also a peak overpay. Like, I mean, you see what a bidding war does. Is it forces an overpay, but you're not going to get a bidding war like that again just because simply no athlete on the planet is worth that much money. Even when you look at what Shohei Ohtani is getting, like, Ohtani should have been the pinnacle. Like, every other team should have looked at Juan Soto and said, look, this is the best player in the world. This is what he's getting. You can't expect more than that. But they wanted Soto that bad. They were willing to go over it. I don't think anybody is ever going to top that because it's just so absurd.
It's just impossible to predict because who knows in 10 years, what 25-year-old free agent phenom could be out there.
Say we get a 19-year-old Ohtani that comes from the U.S. So this way, instead of him breaking out in Japan, breaks out in the U.S. and he comes in at 19 and is able to tear it up. Hit
What's
free
Paul
agency at
Skeen's going to
25.
get?
Well, so I have one more question, then I kind of want to get to that because it was supposed to be Vladdy and Kyle Tucker leading the charge for this next offseason because the future free agent classes look very down. A lot of guys have been locked up. So what does this mean for Kyle Tucker now? Because he's now the sole headliner.
I mean, it means he's going to get a bump in pay because there's going to be one team that wins the World Series, and there's going to be 4 to 7 that feel like they had a shot, and now they need a guy. And we're going to see a similar thing to what happened to Soto. Those teams are going to be in on Tucker. Now, it's not going to be the same price, but they're going to drive each other up.
Are we talking
the
around
team that
500 for
Tucker is
Tucker?
on currently is also a team that's going to be very much in on him with the assets they gave up to acquire him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kyle Tucker, I don't think he's going to end up going anywhere, but yeah, it's going to be a pretty penny to keep him.
I mean, are we talking, could he be around 500 like Vladdy? Could he get more than Vladdy?
29 years old, so got to factor that in. But my guess is similar to what Ben was talking about earlier. Just pay him for 10 years, and if you got to, convert him to a first baseman like Bryce Harper and call it a day. So I do think he'll get a 10-year deal. I think wherever he ends up, like, that'll be the length of the contract. Hey, 10, 11 years. You're here until you're 40.
Yeah, and I don't think that this is right, but I think that a guy like Kyle Tucker is going to look at a Mike Trout contract and say, "This is what I want." So I think 10 years, 430 million is around what he's going to be looking for.
I agree. I think maybe even a little bit more.
Well, he's going to say, "Look at what Soto gets, $1 million a year. I'm asking for just over half of that."
It's kind of crazy how the next biggest contract we're going to see from an outfielder is going to be just give me half of what you guys gave Soto.
Yeah.
But who's the next big extension going to be? You have Paul Skeens, Junior Caminero, Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, or maybe somebody I'm not even thinking about. Who's going to be that next major extension with the team that they're currently on?
I'm going to go out of left field here and say one because this team doesn't do this, but I think they're going to do it because they're going to have to if they want to become and stay relevant. Turek Skubal. I think Detroit's going to lock him up. I think they have to. I think that it's their only chance to try and attract free agents. And they have a coach that can win now. And is going to tell them, look, this is a guy I need to win now.
It's a good one.
I don't know what the number is. Don't ask me that.
I wasn't going to ask you that one. He needs
What
to
did,
prove
what
a
did
little bit
Crochet
more.
just get? Like 7 for 280?
So he's
Something
going to
like
top Crochet.
Oh, 100%.
So
We could be looking at Cole money,
probably
Yamamoto money.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think you said extension with their current team. Not a shot in hell that the Pirates pay Paul Skeens whatever that contract's worth.
I think that's 100% going to be paid by the Pirates.
You think the Pirates are going to fork up the money?
Yes.
They'll pay Paul Skeens more money than they've paid every free agent contract they've ever had combined.
Yep.
I don't think they pay him.
Nutting will never do that.
No,
I think
will.
I think they're gonna trade him at some point.
No, I think they will eventually be competitive, and they're going to pay him. I don't think Major League Baseball lets Pittsburgh let him walk.
I think Gunnar Henderson definitely gets extended, and I think Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, the Orioles have to start getting some of these guys. There's just too many of them.
Yeah. Ellie De La Cruz, the Reds, they paid Votto when it was time to pay their star player previously. Now, obviously, the market's a little different, but I think they'll pay Ellie.
See, but with Tito as the manager, last time he had a big-time shortstop in a medium to small market, that was Francisco Lindor in Cleveland.
Ellie De La Cruz to the Mets. It's so obvious.
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that I can see Cincinnati letting him walk eventually or trading him when the time comes.
But Cleveland also had Jose Ramirez.
Is J-Rod due for a contract soon?
No,
he already got his.
And Acuna, they all got that young player extension.
That, hey, welcome to the league, pal. How would you like 16 years, $100 million? $100 million?
It feels like
that's
this is
perfect.
Fighting the Braves, though, because they're kind of locked in with their roster in some pieces that they don't necessarily want to be locked into anymore.
Well, that's the rub with it, though, because you do that, you get the young guys. You don't have to worry about them leaving, but if they don't, turn into what you think that they might, you're stuck.
Yep.
Another guy that maybe a lesser deal would be like a Royce Lewis, who I think if he can ever stay healthy would be an absolute.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I'd be willing to commit top dollar to him. He doesn't play.
if he can ever figure health,
and they already did that with Buxton. Like, how many times are you gonna make that mistake if you're the Twins?
Or
I feel
even
like that's the only kind of player they can get.
He's
a
good,
really
but
good
he can't
one
play.
Can't stay healthy.
Logan O'Hoppy's another one who I think is really, really good that can get a decent sized extension.
Yeah, I mean, the Angels were willing to shell out the money to Ohtani. He just didn't want to play for him anymore, which I don't blame him. But I understand. But like, the Angels are willing to pay the extension money.
I mean, they signed Trout. They signed Rendon. Like, if
you're willing to sign
Rendon,
they sign. If you can pay Rendon, yeah. Well, that's just a job.
So there's guys out there due for a contract. It's just that they're not going to hit free agency for another couple years. So we'll have to wait and see, how that shakes out for them, if they can develop into something or if they kind of fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to start. John, you want to take us with some Philly talk?
Sure.
Since we last spoke, the Phillies are 4-1. 2-0 versus Colorado, 2-1 versus the Dodgers.
I mean, I'm feeling good. I feel like it's a win anytime you win a series against the Dodgers.
I mean, that's all the Phillies know how to do in the regular season.
So, I mean, last year they owned the Dodgers. I mean, I think they won both. They only lost one game against the Dodgers.
I think I saw on Sunday at the conclusion of the Dodgers series, the broadcast said it was their 4th or 5th straight series win in the regular season versus the Dodgers.
Yeah, so they that's crazy.
Like, they just kind of own them in the regular season.
They do.
Carry that over, though.
It's not like they played in the postseason.
Yeah, they haven't had a chance to play them. In
one
the
team
postseason.
chokes or the other one chokes.
Yeah.
We don't get that NLCS matchup.
It hasn't
I'm
happened.
gonna say, if it
this
wasn't
year.
for Sean Manaea, that we might have saw it last year.
Very much will have, but
second weekend, you're feeling good about the Phils?
mostly. I mean, Nola is not looking as good as I hoped he would. I mean, he seems like he's having some like home run ball problems here. I mean, I think he's given up like 4 home runs already.
The juice balls are back.
So I don't know. I mean, the first time I think he had like 8 strikeouts, gave up 2 home runs. This time he only had 2 strikeouts, gave up 2 home runs. But he's going I think 5 or 6 innings still. So, but that's a problem. But I mean, he's a fastball pitcher, so that's gonna happen. But
how are we not singing the praises of Jesus Luzardo, who absolutely ripped the Dodgers lineup to shreds?
I was gonna get to that's one of the best pickups that's probably the best pickup they had this free agency.
They'll find a way to ruin them.
No, they won't. No, they won't.
So the Phillies do. They ruin pitchers that aren't.
They don't ruin pitchers.
They ruin closers, not starters.
They don't. Look, Jordan Romano, I think he's just bad on his own. He's just
Jordan
bad
Romano, Craig Kimbrell, doesn't matter. You're a closer in a Phillies uniform, you stink. And the setup guy is a star until he's the closer, and then he stinks.
Look, Kimbrell's was at the end of his career. And then Alvarado, he's iffy when it gets in the.
I was gonna say Alvarado's just a
don't
call
Alvarado your closer. Just keep calling him the setup, but in big series versus the Dodgers like that, use him as the closer.
He's iffy. I mean,
reliever by committee, no closers.
Just make him feel like he's always having to earn it.
That's what it's been like. Closing by committee. I mean, like
don't even use the word closing. You're just pitching the 9th in hopes that this is the 10th.
You're setting up for the 10.
To the 10.
You're setting up to the 10.
He's holding. It's a hold. He's holding.
Yeah.
It's a hold.
And that's Alvarado with a save. No. That was a hold.
It's a hold. No, but I mean, Alvarado's fine until he walks a guy and then it just falls apart. But
the Phillies are going to petition to get saves taken out, and it's just going to be holds.
Yeah,
it's gonna be on the next the rule changes.
Shout out the Phillies though, because I placed a bet on them and the Rangers to each win their division at the beginning of the year, and I'm already getting offered additional money to cash out. 1 week of baseball, and FanDuel was like, "All right, you want an extra $6?" I said, "No, thank you." But
happy for you, bud.
They did offer.
But I'm happy with the Phillies, though. I'm happy with what they're doing. I'm just not happy with Jordan Romano. I don't like him. I wish. I feel like at this point, he's gonna be Gregory Soto all over again.
I feel like this is like Ben Profar level hatred.
Pretty much. Wasn't on my team.
This is. I want him gone. I wish they would have went after Tanner Scott.
Yeah. Does he even play for the Dodgers?
I don't think so.
Use them every now and then.
They're just like, hey, do you want some money to come?
I don't even know if I mean, it's not like I've watched
the pine over here.
I haven't watched every Dodgers game, to be fair, but I have not. I've watched like 3, and I haven't even seen him play.
I wonder.
He's definitely appeared. I've seen him.
He's played in 6 games. He does have 3 saves. Okay, so it's just the other games that I haven't watched.
You've just seen the non-save situations.
Holds.
Holds.
Perfect for the
Well, I
Phillies.
watched Shrine
the
get
Phillies
a save
special.
for them, so I kind of wonder what they're doing there. Like they have a closer by committee, but of
Or-
all stars,
Kirby Yates.
of all stars.
Well, Ben, what about you? You know, we haven't really heard your thoughts on the Mets yet.
Yeah, no, look, I feel good about the Mets a couple weeks in, especially this most recent week, getting back home. Obviously losing a series to open up the year in Houston wasn't great, but Soto got the first home run out of the way. They were able to pick up the series win in Miami, a couple of come from behind wins. They were able to sweep the first home series against a good Toronto team that was riding pretty high coming in. And I mean, look, they look good. They look like a good baseball team. And by that, I mean, they look like they can win ugly. Like everybody can win pretty, but you need to be able to win ugly. And they look like that kind of team. Obviously, the vibes aren't where they were last year at the end of the year when they went on that run.
I mean, the Rizzler threw out the first pitch. The vibes are there.
Well, and I was going to say, by the way, are we going to ignore the Phillies having Ronald McDonald throw out the first pitch against the Dodgers? Are we going to ignore that?
I didn't even know he was
Vibes.
still around. I didn't
Yeah.
even know like he
What
was
do
still
you?
a
What do you?
Ronald
What do you?
McDonald.
Hold on.
They didn't-
Hold on.
They
Time
couldn't get
out.
Grimace.
You
They
didn't
got
know.
the clown.
He goes, I didn't know Ronald McDonald was still around, as if like it's
I
one guy,
haven't seen him. Like I literally
as if it's
haven't
one
seen
guy.
him.
McDonald's moved off of
feel what
Ronald
I mean.
McDonald.
You know what
I
I mean?
remember like 10 years ago.
As if it's the Ronald McDonald.
No, but it's
No,
like,
no,
no, like
the
they
Ronald
showed them though.
McDonald
Like they
house.
Do you
haven't.
guys remember like 10 years ago, you had that creepy clown stuff going on where
Yes.
like there were clowns hiding in the woods like randomly, like to scare people?
You had to stand with balloons. Yeah.
Right. Like around like when It One came out.
Yeah.
So McDonald's around that time kind of moved off of Ronald McDonald just because clowns weren't,
That's
Yeah.
it. Ronald's going in the thumbnail.
was
now, and
MIA
nobody's
for,
gonna
like,
know
a
what's
decade.
going on.
So
Be
in
careful,
John's
we don't get
defense,
sued.
McDonald's has kind of moved off of, the Ronald McDonald character.
Yeah,
And then
But
broke
but
him
this
out
was
in
the
Arrow time.
Ronald McDonald himself. This was the guy. Jeez. Yeah, the
That's
Mets
when
though.
Hamburg went for the Yankees.
The Met. Honestly, they've impressed me. I think the all-around pitching performance from everybody's been really solid. And to be 6-3 with Lindor struggling pretty mightily out the gate, batting 172. Soto's only batting 250 currently. Vientos is batting 118. So, like Ben said, like this team's winning and they're not even performing to their highest level. And the one thing that we talked about in all the preseason shows was, are the Mets the most dangerous team over 162 in that long haul? Not really. But you get them into a playoff series and they could beat anybody. And if those bats get hot at the right time, good night.
That lineup is so deep. I mean, they really have a good lineup. 1 through 8, really, when Alvarez is healthy and in the lineup, because that's the thing. The Mets are without their top catcher right now. So another piece that's missing in their lineup. But 1 through 7, when Alvarez is there, is just a gauntlet to get through. 1, 2, 3 of Lindor, Soto, Alonso has been great so far. I really like, even without them all producing, they're still producing runs.
Yep.
Because of how dangerous that was. Like Yankee fans, you love Judge and Soto. Well, Lindor, Soto, Alonso. I mean, Soto has to just be living it up, being sandwiched between the two of them.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I think this is, I think, what is going to be viewed as a cold stretch for Soto in that spot, batting 250 right now. I think he's going to get better. I think once Lindor starts hitting the ball at a higher clip, and there's a guy on base too for Soto.
It takes Lindor until Memorial Day to get to where he is for the season. So, not worried, especially if they're winning games still. Like, they're winning games like this. I'm cool with it.
And then that brings us to the Yankees, Dylan.
Yep.
Since we last talked, the Yankees are 3-4.
Yep.
They went 1-2 versus the Diamondbacks, 2-1 versus Pittsburgh, including that extra inning loss. And now they're 0-1 versus Detroit. It's not the greatest vibes in Yankee land after a hot start, but I don't think the vibes are too down.
Yeah, so Well, the lineup I feel pretty good with. Paul Goldschmidt, I mean, obviously it's early in the season, but batting 342, zero complaints. He's been absolutely crushing lefties this year. Aaron Judge is still far and away the best player in the AL, without a doubt in my mind.
Baseball, you can say it.
Well, you know, I
There's not
we
a
don't
player in baseball I would take over Aaron Judge.
we don't need that conversation right now. I've been feeling pretty good about the way
Instead,
Volpe's been
Ohtani has to
producing.
end up in the thumbnail.
Dominguez, I think he's taking great at bats. The batting average will come with that. The real concern that I have for the Yankees is the starting pitching. This team desperately misses Garrett Cole. We've seen 3 Carlos Rodon starts now. 1 out of 3 has been good. Max Fried is solid. But the starting rotation has just been the problem. Carrasco's in there, Will Warren is in there, and Will Warren's fine, but you could tell it's early. We're still a year away. This is a team that we just talked about Toronto buying an arm at the deadline. We talked about it going into the season. I still feel like the Yankees need to make an acquisition for an arm if they want to be true World Series contenders. This pitching staff in a playoff series with Boston right now is getting crushed.
Yeah, and then hopefully you get Schmidt back in a couple weeks. Heel should be back at some point.
Yep.
Yeah, don't forget you could do the Dodger way and do a bullpen game every other game. That's now an option if you don't have the starting pitching.
Well, that brings me to my biggest concern is outside of Luke Weaver, I don't trust a single arm in the pen.
You don't
All
trust
right.
Devin
All
Williams
right.
yet?
All right. Let's calm it down there. All right.
I mean, Devin Williams hasn't really inspired much confidence, and I was on the
What?
train early with.
What do you mean he hasn't inspired much confidence? Have you watched his career? He's got the third lowest ERA of all time.
This season. If I'm going to overreact about anything, I'm going to say that Pete Alonso broke him. If I'm going to overreact about anything on the Yankees right now.
Ridiculous.
I will say this. That is not uncommon for a reliever to give up a home run in a big spot like that ends your team season and to completely end your career.
He has 1 earned run on the whole year, Devin Williams.
Look, I'm not sitting here saying he is broken, but I'm also like, look, he's an arm I would go and love to add to my bullpen.
Yeah, to say that you don't trust him is crazy. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, say I'd take him over Clase, but
like, I just need to see a couple actual.
Well, tell the Yankees starting pitching to give him a game that he could save. How about that?
Just even clean, like even opening day, it wasn't a clean game.
Yeah, but we talked, no, because a week ago on here, you gave him a break for opening day. You said opening day just came off the Alonso homer versus former team. Like,
but then we saw yesterday versus the Pirates.
Look, his game against the Brewers was much better than Nestor's game against the Yankees.
Yeah,
true.
So if you want to compare former guys going against their former teams, it's a win for Devin Williams.
We were talking about injuries. The Yankees bullpen, they're getting Hamilton back. They'll be getting Loizaga back. Like, this isn't a complete bullpen at this time. Weaver to Williams is going to be very solid in the 8th and 9th inning. The big concern is getting to the 6th. Rodon is supposed to step up and be a top 2 pitcher, yet this guy has not performed well. A 5.19 ERA. Like, that's not going to cut it. Fried's been solid, but outside of him, there's not a single Yankee starter with below a 5 ERA. That's the problem.
Which is crazy because when they're averaging about 9 runs a game going into the last game versus the Pirates, and they're still having tight games, that's an issue.
They have the best run differential in baseball at plus 27. That is because the offensive lineup has produced at a massive clip. I know we were joking before the start of the show about Jazz Chisholm and his strikeouts, but the Yankees have scored 78 runs this year. That's the most in baseball, and it's more than the Cubs and Dodgers, who have 2 additional games. Like, this is a potent lineup, and this is what we talked about with losing Soto. It is a deeper lineup, but you didn't expect to lose Garrett Cole, Luis Heel, and Clark Schmidt to open up the year, too.
Yeah. And Stanton as well, after his postseason, he should hopefully be back in a couple more weeks. They're talking Memorial Day weekend for him.
the lineup doesn't worry me at all, and I still think it's going to be a playoff team. But at the end of the day, you need pitching to win in the postseason,
Yeah.
and right now they just don't have it.
They're just going to keep shuttling Adam Ottavino off between DFA and
Yeah, what do you think they're paying him when they pick him up to just? I mean, because he just can't even be looking to sign anywhere else. Like in his mind, he's just has to be a Yankee, right?
I mean, he refused an outright, ship to AAA. So
He's like, I'll just play in the big leagues when you need me.
Yeah, he's got to be the move for when they bring back Hamilton. They just DFA him again after one game, and then who knows when they'll just bring him back.
Well, he's just gonna hang out with the Long Island Ducks.
Yep.
It's the Yankees. It's just fun when they win. They have a tough series versus the Tigers. Scooble tomorrow. Then they play the Giants, who have been on a heater.
Yeah.
And then they go and play the Royal. It's like they're playing every series except the Pirate series from last week through next week are basically playoff caliber teams.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, knock them for they have a winning record.
No, and listen, while all this pitching is out, like you wanna be where they're at. They're 2 games above 500. Like you want to be winning at a 60% clip. Like that's where you want to be at if you're them. And that's fine. This is why when we did our division series preview, I think we both had Boston ahead of them. I just think over 162, Boston's going to be a better team as things currently stand. If a team like Miami wants to move Alcantara, or like San Diego, which I don't see happening with how good they're playing, wanted to move Cease or King, or some team we're not even talking about just completely goes off the rails and wants to move an arm, the Yankees should be calling. But aside from that, the guys just have to get healthy, and a guy like Rodon just has to be better.
Yeah, you need the guys you have to step up. So that's going to bring us to our studs and duds, because there's a couple guys I really want to talk about, especially this arm from Kansas City, who I think the Yankees will be facing next week. That's Chris Bubich. In 12 2/3 innings pitched over the last week, 2-0, 8 hits, 1 earned run. That's good for an 0.71 ERA. 3 walks, 16 strikeouts. He's been on an insane tear his last 2 starts. Somebody who hasn't, though, that's Ellie De La Cruz. MLB The Show 25 cover boy. 6 games, 24 at-bats. He's got 3 hits, including 1 double. He's got 2 RBIs. He struck out 7 times, walked once. He's hitting 125. Stole 1 base, even got caught stealing once. He's good for a 327 OPS. Somebody who we were talking about earlier could be in line for a massive extension. Kind of needs to step it up for the Reds.
Yeah. Especially in that division. It's going to be so tight with all those teams. It's early in the season and you want to give guys runway, but these games matter a ton, and the Cubs are performing and the Reds aren't. And Ellie's the driving force for the Reds offense. I got George Springer as my first stud. He's got the 3rd best average in baseball right now. And while, Vladdy and Bichette have kind of gotten off to slower than anticipated starts, Springer's been absolutely hitting the ball real well for that team. I think the lineup, if Vladdy and Bichette could get back to their kind of level where they've been at throughout their careers, and Springer could stay around where it's at, is very dangerous. My dud, what do you say?
I was going to say Springer is the reason why my moment that I have for my moment of the week happened. So I appreciate you, George Springer.
Yes, George Springer. My dud is Austin Riley, 5 for 21 with 10 strikeouts. The Braves are 1-8. They've been really, really bad. And with Acuna out, with Murphy out, this is a guy who you'd hoped his play was going to step up in this spot and he was going to perform for the Braves. And he's done the opposite. He's performed poorly for them.
Yeah, love a Braves meltdown, even if it's early and you can't really count them out. My stud is Alex Bregman. He was named Player of the Week for a reason. Capped it off in the Red Sox 18-7 win by going 4 for 5, a couple of doubles and a home run, 6 RBIs. If you count the Baltimore series as well, 10 RBIs throughout the week. Just a very strong week for the best third baseman that the Red Sox have, or at least currently with the way Rafi Devers has been, at least. My dud, it's from that same series over there with Boston, that same game I just referenced with Alex Bregman. The pitcher on the other end was Miles Michaelis. He was solid in his first start against the Angels, but this one just 2 2/3, 11 hits, 8 earned runs, only 1 strikeout. Can't believe Miles Michaelis is still in the league. I'm pretty sure he had a stint over in Asia for a while before coming back to Major League Baseball. Shakti's still around. Shakti's still able to put up decent numbers, but this is more or less what you get. It's a lot of Jekyll and Hyde.
I got to call Ben out real quick for that Rafael Devers knock, because over the last week he's got 10 hits. He's 10 for 22.
Look, he had a tough start to the season. He's had a tough start,
but the last week he's been pretty incredible.
Yeah, but guess what? Not player of the week, incredible. Alex
That's
Bregman,
true.
Best third baseman in Boston.
Very, very true.
I'm gonna keep the trend going here and talk about another third baseman. My stud for the week, Jose Ramirez. He had 8 hits, 4 home runs, 5 RBIs, 5 walks, batting .381 with an OBP over 500 and a slugging over 1,000. So, I mean, that's I think this might be the year of the third baseman. I had a third baseman last week for a stud and a third baseman this week for a stud. So, but another person who I'm not really happy to talk about here or anything, Jordan Romano of the Phillies. He's a 15.75 ERA on the season. He has 1 save. He did his job once. 1 save. Pitched 4 innings last week. 6 gave up 6 hits, 7 earned runs, 4 walks. He's a 2.5 WHIP. I mean, he's terrible. I mean, and he lost the closing job. But I don't know.
Get him
according
out.
to Dylan, he might do good now, because now he's not a closer, so he might do good.
I don't know. He's still on the Phillies though, and when they bring in relievers, they just die as of late.
That's not true.
I think you should take your worst reliever, make him your closer, and then just not pitch him. Tell everybody else, yeah, you're just a setup, a long reliever, and then don't let him even think.
Taiwan Walker into the closer spot.
That might be what fixes the Phils.
I mean, honestly, you're joking about it. That might, I can see it happening.
Priceless.
All right, so Ben, you were talking about your moment of the week.
Yeah, my moment of the week. Thank you, George Springer. Is Jesse Winker pulling out 2 triples, including a 2-run tying triple on Sunday, which helped the Mets complete the sweep against Toronto. Winker's second triple, put it off the wall. Springer ran into the wall, left the game afterwards. So you might be able to keep that batting average right where it is, Dylan, because what George Springer loves to do. And I don't mean to laugh about this, because obviously, you don't want to see a player get hurt, but George Springer is once again hurt. So
future Minnesota Twin, I heard.
Yeah. Well, that's that's who went all in on him. But it's in all seriousness, tough for Springer. He is a guy who has had to battle injuries, but very impressive for Winker, especially to pull out a triple in that spot. That's a big spot. He had Soto and Lindor on base in front of him. He was someone who had to come through late in the game, down 2-0, no offense to that point. He's able to come through. Had not hit a triple since 2021. So, able to get not only 1 but 2 triples in that game. That's my moment of the week.
Yeah, my moment of the week is Willy Adames with a backhanded play to get Julio Rodriguez out, and J-Rod had an impressive play earlier in the game. And then we just saw the two kind of have a little moment where they were chirping at each other. Julio Rodriguez from the dugout, Adames still on the field. And it seemed friendly to me. And I'm using the moment of the week as a way to take a shot at the Seattle Mariners, because Adames, a guy that they could have paid, seems pretty friendly with their star player, a bat that they could have used. And who knows? 2 weeks in, and we don't want to judge teams off of 2 weeks, but the Mariners, again, disappointing.
If only they had a shortstop.
If only.
What about you, John? What's your moment of the week?
Well, I know you wanted to, Corey wanted me to stay away from the Phillies, but I had to go with Nick Castellanos and give him some love because a lot of the other Phillies fans just love to hate him. I don't understand that, but he had a grand slam for the Phillies, put him up over the Dodgers. With I think gave him a lead in the Dodgers game, but
Something
then that
bad
was
must have happened.
Well,
Something bad must
I mean,
have happened.
pre-market later on that day, the stock market kind of tumbled down a bit. So I mean, if you want
He
to
can't keep getting away with this. He knows something. Insider trading.
something, but he hit the grand slam for him. I think was it? I think who was pitching for it? For the Dodgers, or what was? I forget his name. Like Glasnow had like a complete meltdown in the rain. He just could not pitch in the rain. Just forgot how to pitch, and then took him out, and then immediately first pitch Castellanos just grand slam. And then that lead was later on given up by Jordan Romano. But they won anyway.
Phillies closers, baby.
It wasn't even a closing situation. It was like the 7th inning.
They were like, let's try him out as a setup guy.
You're
It
like-
was like, you already broke me.
Just put him in the 7th inning. Just immediately blew up, and they had to take him out. Put Kirk Green in.
Think we need to start a Romano blown game counter, or at least blown inning counter.
We're gonna if it keeps up. We'll see how he does this week because they're gonna start using him in a low leverage
Over under
situation,
100
so.
and a half.
I take the under, but very cautiously. My moment of the week, though, the Rockies of all teams turned a triple play, 5th in team history, top of the 2nd versus the A's. So obviously, two teams that
No wonder I missed it.
I can see this happening with. But can you guys guess what type of triple play it was?
A 1, 2, 3.
5-4-3.
Ah.
Just a great ground ball down the line, third base to second base to first. Just really smooth. It's one of those things that you always hope. Whenever I see a ground ball hit to that spot of the field, I always wish there was a runner on first and second just because it seems so easy to turn because it's no extra effort than a regular double play. Just smooth. And just it's always fun to see a triple play happen. You usually get 1 or 2 a year if you're lucky. And the
Yeah, I was gonna
Rockies.
say, I don't know about you, but I don't usually get to see 1 or 2 a year.
No, I'm just in baseball in general. There's 1 or 2. And they're just fun to see because of how like rare they are and how difficult they are to turn because you just need a lot of different circumstances to meet. All right, but now our weekly series highlight. Any series you guys want to let us know about?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll jump in and get us started. Giants heading to the Bronx. Currently 1 loss, San Francisco Giants. They're on a nice little winning streak after taking care of Houston and then I believe Seattle. So, some definitely good matchups there. And look, the Yankees are the Yankees. So, they're the cream of the crop. Good litmus test for the Giants. Another test for them. See what they can do.
What
When
does
did
Arson
San-
Judge have against his former team?
Well, what do the San Francisco Giants and the New York Giants go out for dinner or something when they come to town?
One of the best Francesa questions ever asked.
You think they go for lunch or something? Just grab a meal.
San Francisco Giant, Shador Sanders.
Love that clip from Francesa. He takes it so seriously to start.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, why
My
would they do that?
my series highlight. The Chicago Cubs and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies, we talked about it last pod. It was going to be a good test. Do the Phillies have what it takes to compete with the Dodgers, or are the Dodgers just too good? The Phillies had what it took to compete. Same exact measure here for the Cubs. The Cubs have opened up the year pretty solid. The Tokyo series, obviously the Dodgers swept them there 2 games. Overseas, this is the shot for, the revenge play for the Cubs. Kyle Tucker been playing some really good ball. I'll be interested to see if the Cubs can sneak out this series, or if the Dodgers just sweep them again, I guess we'd know who to pick in a playoff series.
Yeah.
My weekly highlight this week's going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates at the Cincinnati. You're going to see the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, these are relatively, they're both 3-7. I mean, I don't think any of us really had them win the division, but this is just really one of those games that I want to see, because I think it's just be a fun game to watch. I mean, you got Ellie De La Cruz, seeing if he'll bounce back. You got, Pirates. I don't know. Paul Skeen's probably pitching. So it's like, it's just a fun game to watch, and could have implications later on in the season, because it's going to be a tight division usually. But
if the Reds have any hope of making the playoffs or even winning that weaker division, they got to get out of their hole, and playing the Pirates is a good way to hopefully get some wins. For me, I'm going Kansas City at Cleveland. Bobby Witt, J-Ram, two teams that were in the playoffs last year, two teams that are definitely top 5 in the American League division matchup. That division's wide open. Either one of these teams, along with the Tigers, can win it. I'm already writing off the Twins and the White Sox, and I think that's fair.
White Sox World Series?
The White Sox were pretty good to open the year.
They were.
All that
So were the
cursed magic
Marlins.
Back to life, back to reality. And 56 minutes in, copyrighted for my beautiful singing.
But I think this is a great series. This is probably one of the first American League series that has a playoff feel to it, very similar to the Phillies-Dodgers series, because this is a series that could be an ALCS. These are two of the best teams, especially Bobby Witt being one of the best players in baseball. One of the top 3 best players in the American League, a guy that's going to be in that MVP conversation year in, year out. This is going to be a very fun series, and I think whoever comes away with this series win is well set to win the division, because they're going to have that initial tiebreaker over the other. But that's going to do it here for us. Back at it next week. Hopefully the Yankees bounce back. The Mets keep doing their thing. The Phillies figure out who their closer is. Or I should say holder. Don't even call it closer, the holder.
Holder sounds so wrong. What is he holding, Corey?
The ball to try to win a game. Jonathan Holder to be the pitcher.
What's Holder holding?
The Philly season in his hands.
What's it shaped like?
An L. Before this gets any nuttier, let's end it here. Corey, Jason, Dylan, Mel, Ben Mandel, John Pauline, Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast, signing off.